So you bought a new guitar, and now your strings are dead. Don't worry about it. I'm here to help you. I'm going to show you how to restring your guitar. Don't go anywhere. First thing you need to do is loosen the old strings a little bit. All right, now once your strings are loosened, you need to cut them to remove them. What I like to do, hold my hand right over the neck so when I cut them, the strings don't go flying out. Now, one thing to remember is on a two-piece bridge like this, some guitars, this is not locked into place and will just slide right out as soon as you cut the strings. So you need to be very careful not to let this slide because it can damage your finish. On this guitar, it has clips on it, and I'll show you what that looks like up close. To remove the strings, just pull them through the end. Just be careful you don't let the ends of them slide against the finish because you can put some scratches in your finish that way. And that's that. Now, we're going to remove the strings from the headstock. I'll show you how to do that as well. One of the things you want to do is grab the end and just pull it around the tuner so it comes out. These little ends here are pretty sharp and they can dig into the finish and cause scratches, so you want to be careful not to let them slide across when you're doing that, especially on the high strings. Then take your strings, tie them off. That way you don't lose any of the ends, you don't step on them if you're doing this at home, nothing stabs you, nothing pokes you. While you have the strings off, this is a good time to do any cleaning you need to do that you otherwise can't reach. So if you want to take a cloth and just get rid of some of the dust underneath where the strings go. On a bridge like this, you have 6 individual screws. If you're keeping the same string size and the same tuning, do not touch those. Those are for intonation. That's something a little more advanced, and we'll get to that later. This is also a good time to clean your fretboard if you need to. Cleaning your fretboard is not something you need to do every time you restring a guitar, really only when it's needed. But a good cleaner, Dunlop 65 lemon oil. Now you only want to use this on dark woods like this, no maple ever. To apply a little bit of lemon oil, just rub it straight down the fretboard. And then I just use a regular old paper towel. This will help clean any residue off the fingerboard, but it'll also give dark woods a nice color and it'll help moisturize them and keep them healthy. Now we're ready for a new pack of strings. Since this is a Les Paul, I'm going to use Gibson strings. I'm going with 9-46, which is common for a Les Paul to come out of the factory with, so we're going to stick with that. Now, everybody has their own methods for how they do this next part. I'm going to show you how I do it. You'll find over time something that maybe works a little better for you, but for now, this is going to make your life way easier and avoid possibly damaging your guitar. So take your bridge and pull it off. As I said earlier, this one has some clips that'll hold it onto the post so it won't slide out. They don't always have these, but that's a nice little touch that Epiphone and Gibson uses. So what we're going to do is we're going to take each individual string and we're going to slide them through the spots where they go. It does not matter which side you start on. I always like to start on the low side. It's just kind of habit. You'll pick whatever works for you. So take your string and put it through, and then pull it all the way so the ball end goes into the hole. Now we're going to do this for all 6 strings. All right, so now we have all 6 strings where they need to go. The little trick I like to do is put a little piece of tape right across here so these don't fall out, because what can happen is they can start to come back through, and it gets pretty annoying when you're trying to do that. So this is something that I like to do. I'll take a little piece of tape here, just run it along the back so that way they don't fall out. Make sure you keep a little bit of a slack here so you can pull it off later so it doesn't get wrapped underneath. Then we're going to take our bridge We're going to put it back into place. Like I said, this is very nice because this one snaps into place. If it doesn't, you can see how my left hand here is holding the strings. That's something you might want to do to keep this from sliding out, at least until you get your first string on, and then from there you can let go and let the tension hold for you. But for now, since we don't have to worry about that, I'm just going to let these go. When restringing a guitar, I like to cut my strings before I wind them. This way, I don't have any excess on the end, and I don't have to worry about chancing cutting the string in a bad spot and snapping it off. So this is a method I like to use, and this works in most situations on most guitars. You'll find out how to apply it if your headstock is different. If you have the 3x3, this will work a certain way. If they're all 6 in a line, this will still work. You just have to alter it a little bit. So what I like to do is use the tuners as my guideline for where I'm going to cut the strings. This is our low E string, which is going to go through this tuner here. So in order for the proper length to get the proper amount of winds, I'm going to cut it at this tuner. Now, you'll see when we get to winding in the next step, this will give me the perfect size to go around as many times as I need it to. I'm going to do this for the rest of the strings. I'll speed this footage up just a little bit so you guys don't have to sit here and watch this whole boring part. All right, so now we've cut our string ends to the proper length. We're going to go ahead and wind them. For the first one here, I'm going to use a manual winder. For the rest, I'm going to go ahead and use a drill bit attachment. It speeds the process up a lot, but I want to show you how to use the manual winder because a lot of you, this will be your first way of doing it. So this is a manual string winder. You probably saw me using it earlier when I was detuning the guitar, but it's a pretty simple tool. They're pretty cheap, and everybody should really have one. And I will show you right now how it works. So when stringing a guitar, I like to do the first wind over the top and then the rest underneath. I'll show you exactly what I mean here. So feed the string through. And you only want it to come out just a little bit out of the end. You don't need much slack. A lot of people like to leave big ends on there. That doesn't help you at all. It just ups the chances that you could get caught on something and poke your finger. It also gives you more slack to potentially put scratches into your headstock. So I try to keep it as tight as possible. I really just want it to be out as far enough, almost a little bit big, a little more than the thickness of the string, just so it has something to grab onto. So as we begin to wind, I use my finger and I pull the string tight against the tuner. The first pass, I'm going to take the extra slack and go over the piece that's sticking out. And then for the rest, I'm going to go under. And as you can see, the string winder saves me having to turn this manually with my fingers, which gets really, really annoying after a while. Now stack your winds. Keep going down with them. Don't let them go over each other. Just you want a nice stack around so it looks nice. Now we have the perfect amount of excess string and the perfect wind. And I'll show you from my end what that looks like. So as you can see here, I went with the first one over the top and then the rest under. That friction helps hold the string in place so it doesn't slide out. Often the reason that strings go out of tune is because they slip through the tuner a little bit, and even just the slightest movement can make your string go way out of tune. So this method helps ensure extra friction so they won't slide. You'll see a lot of brands doing this as a default from their factory. This is my preferred method as well. So now we're going to move on. We're going to do the rest of the strings. Again, I'm just going to speed this footage up. I'm doing the same method over each one. First wind over the top, rest under the bottom. All my strings are pre-cut. Now I'm going to use the string winder attachment on the end of a drill. This is something that I think you really could benefit from, but when you're new and just starting out, there's a real strong chance that you could overuse this and snap your strings. So I would say hold off on this until you're a little comfortable. But you'll see how much quicker this makes things go. You can see here my winds are nice and even. That's why I like to pre-cut them. That way they're even every single time. All right, now the new strings are on, it's time to tune and stretch the strings. For this step, you want to get the strings in tune, but don't worry about making them completely perfect as long as they're close. This is going to go out of tune a couple times while we do this next step here. That's completely normal. All right, next we're going to stretch the strings. The reason we do this is because the strings are wound and they start to stretch out over time as they break in. That'll cause your guitar to go out of tune, and you'll learn as you are doing this, you may have to tune the guitar a couple times before it holds permanently, but this is going to take down a lot of the time it takes for that to happen. You're probably not going to get them perfect on the first try. Most even experienced techs are going to have to stretch the strings a couple times. This is not a reflection of skill or anything. This is just the strings. This is just the nature of them. To stretch the strings, grab underneath with all your fingers and put your thumb on the opposite side and do the same down here. And then just move around on the string and stretch it. You'll feel the string loosen as you're doing this. And you can see it went way out of tune. Do this with all the strings. Now when you get to the higher strings, be careful. You can snap these if you put too much pressure on them, and they don't need stretched as much as the other ones. Now we're going to tune the guitar and do the process again. Stretch them again. You can repeat this process as many times as you need to so your strings are broken in, but now you're ready to play. So that's all there is to it. This is something that I think every guitar player should know how to do. This is something I think everybody can benefit from. There are going to be situations where you still should take the guitar into an experienced tech. Now, if the neck bows, if you want to change string size or change tunings and you need a full setup, take that in. But if you're keeping the same tuning and the same string sizes, that's all there is to it. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Let us know what you think. Did this help you out? Did it not? Do you do something maybe a little differently than I do? Whatever it is, let us know what you thought. And also let us know if there's anything else you would like to see, any kind of tech tips or instructional how-tos on this kind of stuff. Please let us know. If you need to know, we have a lot of knowledge here and we're happy to share it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up for us. And if you like everything you're seeing, go ahead and hit subscribe and turn on the notifications. That way you know every time we upload new content. See you next time.